We live? We're going to start the meeting. I do not have an agenda. This is a work session of the City Commission along with some gentlemen from the. Okay, we're going to start this work session of the City Commission of Fort Scott, and we have some gentlemen with us here tonight. You may not regularly see on camera. You guys want to introduce yourself into the microphone, please?
I'm Bill Lemke, Supervisor for the Water Distribution Department.
I'm Tom Kaufman, Public Works Manager. I'm Jerry Morgan, Street Department Supervisor.
Awesome. I think everybody knows everybody else out there. This is our new city manager, Kelly. And we got Peter Earls with us down here, our city engineer. So at this point in time, Brad's handing out some. Oh, it's a whole big thing.
Okay.
Are these two separate items here?
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Is this the same thing? Yeah, I need one for Jerry here. We'll get Jerry that.
I'll get about 5 more.
Brad, make about 5 more of these.
You all right, kid? What else is there?
Watch that chair.
Yeah, he's making some.
We're getting them. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so what are we looking at here?
Which one?
This is the one. We'll start off with this one here, the map of the 12-inch water line.
I think these are the 3 water line projects.
Okay.
First one is 6th Street going across Cincinnati Highway. See the estimate, basically $800,000. The actual project is $590,000. That's got a 20% contingency, which is typical when you're just drawing a picture on a piece of paper.
And could you explain that a little bit to us, a 20% contingency?
Well, basically, when you're just drawing a picture, you've not done any survey, you've not done anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you estimate it by length, and obviously valves, everything else, a lot of stuff's not in there. We have no way of doing that until you actually design it. So on anybody's preliminary work, what they do is just put together an estimated cost, you throw 20% in, just to cover.
What ifs?
Yeah, things that
Right.
you don't know about, whether it's utilities that are in the way, whether it's things you gotta go over and under, therefore more fittings, et cetera.
Now,
So that's pretty typical until you do a design, you get a real cost.
so my question is there a water line in this area right now?
I can answer that. No, there's not. There was one, but it was
Abandoned?
abandoned in '95,
Okay.
and part of what some of these pictures are trying to do, we are trying to improve the water supply from the west side of town to the east side of town.
Sure.
And that's
Well,
what this is for.
right. And the reason I asked that was because when you're talking about job estimates, that's good that there was a water line there because that tells me we're probably not going to have to do any jackhammering or anything like that. We're not going to run into any rock that we'll have to beat out if there's already an existing line in this place.
The biggest,
I mean, when you put in a new water line, you don't lay in the same trench. More than likely, you don't.
Yeah.
It's normally when a line's abandoned, when a line's abandoned in place, it's just that, it's abandoned. Now, in this case, it's dead.
Yeah.
So you might be able to go back into the same trench. Normally, you cannot
Right.
because that line's still live.
Right. But I'm saying being this one's dead, wouldn't it make sense to go into that same trench, cut it at one end, cut it at the other end, and hook it back up?
that might not be possible
Yeah.
because the line that's in there would probably been an old cast or ductile iron line, and it might be more difficult to split that out than just run a new trench. Plus also the new rules nowadays saying, since we're going underneath the highway and railroad tracks, have to be encased.
Well,
Okay.
it'll be bored. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
a bore.
Right,
And you
right.
won't bore in the same
Yeah.
location. But that basically, you're going to bore it from one side of the railroad all the way to the right of way of 69 Highway.
West.
So
Right.
that's going to be, most of this project is going to be a boring case.
Right.
Yeah.
And we feel pretty confident that we'll be able to bore it without having too many difficulties other than a major stormwater structure that's there on the east side of the road. As far as the ground goes, from what we know of around the area, it's decent. It's not, I don't think we're going to encounter solid rock, but we won't know until more work's done, obviously.
Right.
Is the blue on the east side of town over there, the 2-inch galvanized pipe, is that just tying into existing lines? Is that's not replacing that as well, is it?
The blue lines are existing lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like over to like Ransom and to Clark.
Yes, the way this is drawn up, we plan on going from tying off of the stub out that was made on National Street at 6th and National, and then going east to Ransom Street.
But I think what Tim was getting at, we're not doing the blue lines. We're not doing the 2-inch.
We're
This
not
is just
doing
hooking
that.
up.
Those are existing lines that are in service.
Right. And these are just cost estimates.
They're just rough estimates, and they're normally what these are when you do something like this is a rough estimate. And like if you're going to bond it or something, you always want your bonding number higher than the actual price, because to go back and increase a bond is very difficult. And so it's much easier to have it too high than too low, especially in a bonding situation.
Right. You know, I don't know a whole lot about boring and boring costs. I'm more into the digging end of it, but mobilization of 59,000, is that typical? For
You
like-
know, mobilization's all over the place. It's really hard to put a number in there. You'll see mobilization from 20,000 to 150,000. And the reason for it is contractors put a lot of their profit in mobilization because they get that money up front. And so it's yeah, that's why they do.
Yeah, I understand that.
I mean, you know, mobilization it's supposed to be them moving in all their equipment and then loading it all up and taking it back out.
Sure.
But what a lot of contractors do, mobilization gets paid 60% up front. So they'll figure up their bid and then load up the mobilization because they get that money up front. So that's a really hard number to come up with what's real.
So is this, I mean, to go out to bonds, what do we need to go out to bonds, you said?
Typically, this just gives you a ballpark idea. And then what you'll do is normally what this would, like if we're going to go out for, let's say we're going to do a KDH&E loan. This is what KDH&E needs plus a PER. That's why we're doing these. And then they'll give you the documents that say, okay, we'll loan you this much money. Then you'll design it, get a real estimate, and then bid it. And then the loan is simply like any loan. You got $3 million sitting out there, but if you only use $1.5 million, then you're only borrowing the $1.5 million. But that's how KDH&E works on SRS. That's the same way with rural development. If you're bonding it, normally what a bonding company will do is say, okay, go ahead and bid it. You'll take out a temporary note, pay for it, and when the project's done, then you'll bond the entire amount plus the interest that you've paid to pay off that temporary note and put it on a bond. So they work a little different in each case.
Again, I understand these are just cost estimates, but so you think from 6th Street or from National, pretty much the whole way it's going to be bored,
Basically, you see that there's
the bypass.
1,250 feet of water line, of which 460 feet of it will be bored and cased.
Okay. 460. Because I mean, the reason I asked it because it said remove and replace pavement 1,000 feet. So that there's your footage. If you're saying how many feet was it, bored?
460, well, he has 1,250 feet of water line. I'm not sure where the 1,000 feet of pavement.
It's square yard.
Oh, a square yard's not feet. Okay, I didn't see.
Oh.
Okay, that's why. It's square yards.
Okay.
Not linear feet. They're two different things. Thank you. But without, like I say, without a design, all you're doing is going off an aerial photo.
Right.
And so that would be revised. And then the same with all the other stuff is just percentages.
Right.
We just throw in percentages at this point, and then when we're really ready to go with the project, we'll put down real
Get closer.
numbers and say, okay, how much time is it really going to take to do this? And then we'll reduce those costs as well. And same with the construction engineering. Inspection, basically, it comes down to how much can your guys do time-wise, and what does a consultant need to do? And obviously, it's just time, and it's an hourly rate deal with an upper limit. And if it's full-time, it runs as high as 15%. If it's part-time, it can be as low as 3 or 4%. So that's just kind of, depends on the project, depends on who the contractor is too. I mean, if you got a trusted contractor and you're used to working with him, you're confident that he's going to do the job for you. And then we may only be coming over to run compaction tests for you or something like that.
Right. Any other questions on that first one?
Well, if I could back this up a little bit, kind of giving a bit of an explanation, not only for this first one, but also for the next waterline project on here. The whole reason for proposing these is, as I said before, to move water from the west side of town to the east side of town. At one point in time, we had some 4 or 5 different crossings go across the highway. We are now down to 2.
Mm.
So that's why these are being,
That's important.
yeah.
It's just gonna put more pressure on the east side.
That's hard to say, but it's more about being able to supply a water volume, which if you can supply water volume, then that will help keep the water pressure stable. And it may, yes, it may increase it, but I can't say that for sure.
Well, I'm looking at these 2-inch water lines, galvanized pipe.
Yeah, we have, that's probably going to have to be a whole nother discussion, because we have a lot of 2-inch galvanized pipe in this town, and that needs to be addressed.
Well, our minimum is 6 inches, is that right?
For fire.
I mean, that's
For
what
fire,
that's
yeah,
what
if you're providing fire suppression in the area, yes, then 6 inches would be the minimum.
So,
But some of these lines that you see on here are alley lines that they're solely providing water service to the houses. There's no fire protection involved. But I mean, each one of those has to be addressed on a case-by-case basis. And like I said, we have a lot of 2-inch galvanized, but that'll probably have to be another work session to
well, this
figure out how we're
this
going to
work
move forward
session
on
is,
those.
as I understood, was for streets.
I'm sorry?
This work session, as I understood, was for streets, not water lines.
Well, yes, that's true. However, streets projects will come after we talk about water lines, if that's okay. And if not, then we can just go to streets.
Well,
We
I
can have a
want to
separate
make sure we
meeting.
have time to talk about
Yeah.
streets. I
So-
mean, I appreciate this information, and we need this information, and yes,
I was just
Okay,
trying to
so-
incorporate both of them.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be disrupting the street, but you're absolutely correct.
So,
this section,
How many hydrants do we have over on the east side right now?
I don't have an actual count. I can tell you throughout the entire city, there's 500 plus.
Okay.
But
I was just trying to think in my own head because I live over there and I was trying to think.
I can't hear you, Tim. Could you?
Was asking him about the number of fire hydrants that are over on the east side, and just out of curiosity, I was going through my head living over there thinking, God, have I seen any fire hydrants over there? And if that's the case, if these water lines are in that bad of damage or that condition, are any concerns about the hydrants that are there, whether or not they
Well-
have adequate pressure? Are they being tested regularly?
they are tested on an annual basis by the fire department. Again, that's where these projects come in, is if there is a major need for fire hydrants over in that area, it's the supply of water, getting it moved, because as you know, the water plants on the west side of town we got to get it from there across. And on the east side of town, your biggest backup water supply is the east tower. And I don't know what kind of a major fire would deplete that tower, but let's say if there was one, then you're in trouble. So,
Okay, so I think we need to get through this. I hate to cut anybody off, but on the second page, where are you at there, Bill? Where's that one going to run
okay,
from?
the reason for this project is you'll see a 10-inch, a blue line, 10-inch that crosses the highway. Earlier last year, that 10-inch line, we had to abandon that section from 2nd Street going up State Street to First and then across the highway to Clark Street. We had to abandon that section because there was just too many failures on that line. So what we need to do is to find a way to basically replace that line to be able to move a quantity of water across the road. And this is just one of the ideas and ways that we came up with doing that. And that was to put a 12-inch line to replace an 8-inch line that goes down State Street. That would help give a bigger volume of water to move across town using the 12-inch line that's on Wall Street.
And that'll run from 3rd to Wall?
Yes, that's what, there is a 8-inch line going on 3rd Street going across. So if you tie Wall Street, 3rd Street together with a bigger line going through there, you're actually going to help increase the flow going across.
But there's a 12-inch line that runs down National.
Yes, Wall Street.
No, but I mean, there is a 12-inch line that runs down National.
It runs from 13th Street to 6th Street, and then from 2nd Street to Wall Street, there's a 12-inch line there also. Now on 2nd Street, coming from the plant, there's a 16-inch main that 12-inch is tied into. What we want to do is going down State Street, come down here on State Street, tie that all in so that 16 is supplying a loop around to help push water across town.
Any more questions on this one?
Bill, can I ask you one question about that first one? Is that 12-inch line tying into the 6-inch line on Ransom, or is it tying into that 8-inch line?
It'll tie into the 8-inch.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if we flip over to the last one, I think it's going to be out in the industrial park, right?
Yes.
And what are you doing there, Bill?
Okay, on this one here, this came up because of the proposed, or I saying it's proposed, the meat packing plant that's going to go in south of KDOT. We needed to find a way to extend water to those folks. So out by what would this be? The southwest corner of LaRoche baseball field. We're proposing to tie onto that and extend the water line to the site where the meat packing plant's going. Also, if you go back up towards the north, up by Key Industries, towards the top of the page, there's a section of 12-inch line that needs to be replaced. That section is currently out of service because, again, it's prone to failure on a yearly basis.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times we've had to go out and dig that up and it's just a section of that line that it continually pops. So we try to incorporate both of that in. If you kind of notice on the map, we have water coming in from the north, and then it's a straight line shot going to where the meat packing plant would go, and kind of having a little bit of a knowledge of how water likes to travel, its easiest path. That run along the highway there if this meat packing plant goes in, is going to be, it's going to have a lot of usage on it. It's going to have a lot of flow when you consider that you're going to have really the ball field, which is tapped into it, and now you're also going to have the meat packing plant. So it's going to increase the usage on there. And to have a section in there that's prone to leak, that's not a good thing.
Right.
Is that a 12-inch line that runs all the way from there next to Key Industry all the way out?
Yes, yes. It's all 12-inch ductile iron line. It was probably the first line that was laid in when the industrial park was first developed. Since then, there's been additional lines put in, and some of them are PVC, but as near as I can tell, this is the original one that was put in.
Are those cast iron?
Ductile iron. Yeah, they're ductile iron.
Now, fixing that 12-inch line there next to the Key, will that help solve some of the water pressure issues that the industrial park experiences?
It's not going to make any improvements, but it will ensure that we're able to maintain water supply out there. Some of the issues that we have out there, I believe, are due to just the demand of water that's being used out there. You have Timken, you have BMC, you know, these guys are using a lot of water. If they're both running at the same time, you're going to lose some pressure.
Yeah, this is the one we talked about before that was a loop.
Yeah.
And if once you've shut that down on that side,
Yeah.
you're only running off that one end. And if something bad happens there,
Yeah,
they're out
and
of water
unfortunately, we do not have a complete loop right now.
this
the
is
way it is.
probably the most, this is very important right here to get.
Yes,
So
I'd
that-
say this
the
is out of the
simplest.
three at the moment. This is the more important one.
We identified this as number one in our last meeting.
So does that tie back in over there on where it goes out on Liberty Road?
Yeah, right around where it comes across the highway down Marble Road and Liberty Road. Yeah, that's all. That loops back around.
But it doesn't tie into that Campbell Road run.
Yes. What you're looking at here right now is a loop system, except for the one leg that goes out to KDOT, which with what we've got in mind, that is one of the things we would like to do is to make that a loop too.
Okay.
So everything,
Right.
the idea here was to loop everything in. The only thing that, if this was all done, the only thing that would really be a dead end would be at the meatpacking plant.
Okay.
They would be the last users.
I guess my main question here, is there anything additionally that could be done to this area to improve that water pressure? Because that's a complaint that I've heard from a lot of people out there in the industrial park, is that loss of pressure all the time.
We have talked about it before, and there's a couple different things that could be done. One of them is a standpipe, but we're not really sure about, that's a lot of expense. We have talked about booster pumps, but again, it's a supply of water. I'm not 100% sure that, I'm going to use Timken as an example. Timken has a 4-inch meter. Okay, 4-inch meter, you can only pass about 1,200 gallons per minute through that meter. If they're trying to use more than 1,200 gallons, they're going to experience pressure problems. So some of this, and Timken has expanded once or twice since it was originally built, and that original meter went in. So this could be a meter problem. Okay. There's some things that we need to look at and study in order to try to solve, some of the issues. Like I said, some of it may just be that we're not, because of the way we set it up originally, we may not be supplying enough water into the building. And so there's questions like that come up.
Okay, so any more questions on the water lines?
Just for my education, Timken's been in there 25 years or more?
More than that.
More than that, okay.
I worked there when it was Dago. That was 30 years ago.
Okay.
No.
It's been there 21 years.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But to give you an example of what some of the water problems out there can be, if Timken's running and they're running near full capacity and BMC decides they want to do a test on their fire suppression system, which means they've got to open up some hydrants, Timken's going to have problems. So anytime we hear about that, we have to do a lot of coordination back and forth between the companies to try to ensure, that we don't experience water problems.
Right.
Doing this project, getting this section of line replaced and stuff like that, that's going to help us maintain that.
I guess I'm just thinking if we're gonna invest the money in doing this, is there anything else that you can think of?
We need to, and like I was saying, we need to look at other things like, do we need to increase the size of pipe going into some of these buildings to be able to supply them more water in? You remember, we're supplying 12-inch water main out here. If we're going to, that's about as big. We couldn't go bigger with bigger water mains, but I'm not so sure that a water plant can produce that amount of water either. So there's just some different areas we need to look at. Is what I'm saying.
Now,
before we commit ourselves to, we're going to build another water tower, we need to make sure we look at everything.
Okay, would you be able to take a look at a couple of those items and let's get with the engineer? I think this project's important to be done, but like I said, I've heard from many of the people out there in the industrial park, and that's one of their main complaints is the internet and then the low water pressure. If there's something additional we can do at the same time that's going to help alleviate some of those problems, I'd like to see us get that taken.
We can have discussions with the engineer and see what we can come up with.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you talk about that, one last question for me was when you talk about that 12-inch that's going to the meter. Now, would it be the company's responsibility from the meter to the facility?
It's something that we'd have to look at because we have a 12-inch main that comes up there. And again, I'm going to use Timken as an example. There was a 4-inch tap done on that 12-inch main, run to a meter vault with 4-inch. It's all 4-inch line going all the way into the building. Normally, we take care from the main to the meter. In Timken's case, that would probably also include the vault. But if we did that work, if we increase that, let's say to a 6 or an 8-inch feed to the vault and put a 6 or 8-inch meter in there, then typically speaking, Timken would need to increase their line size going into the building
to see a difference.
Because it won't do any good if I go to an 8-inch meter, you're still only going to get 1,200 gallons because they still have a 4-inch pipe going in.
Well, that was my point was if you can bring it 12 inches, but if you choke
but that's
it down
not just the pipe going in. That means they may have to redo their fire suppression system, their backflow prevention system. It's a lot more than just replacing the pipe going into the building.
Okay.
What would be the time frame proposed for these 3 projects?
You mean how long would each of them take?
Start date for each of our.
I can't tell you that because I don't know how you're going to fund them. If you're telling me that you have the money, when can we get started?
Yeah.
Okay. It'll take approximately 90 days to get it a project from when to say a consultant to go to the time it's ready to go out for bids. By time, because it's got to go through KDH&E and they take about 30 days. And then you take bids, that takes another 30 days. And then the contractor can start after that, but that usually is another 2 weeks to 4 weeks to get a contractor in line to go. So with that in mind, you're looking at approximately 150 days from the day you say go to a day the contractor would be on site. And right now, that depends on material. Because material is the biggest problem right now for a contractor to get material.
So we're looking at 5 months, June, May.
Correct. the time you'd be able to get a
Well,
project.
Pete,
going.
In that process, what we would do is we'd also get with CDBG and then also KDH&E on debt forgiveness. I believe, Earl, have you heard whether, or Phil, I haven't talked to William Carr yet this year to see if they're gonna still offer debt forgiveness on water projects, but we can get up to a $600,000 CDBG grant. So in the time we develop the PER and run through the system, then we also apply for grants, and it does take about 6 months before you can kick off. So, but in that time, you're not running ahead of your grant money either.
Yeah. So
So-
it's possible that these three projects could be,
Fall, maybe spring projects,
or at least in the budget for this year.
possibly. Yeah. Depending on lead times, like Earls was saying.
Well, I don't think we can give direction tonight, but that's what we're discussing. So this is all good stuff. And is there any more questions on the water lines?
Just one, when we talked before, just to confirm, I mean, as we go forward, the ones that you guys said should be prioritized is the one out in the industrial park first.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. I'd say if we were looking at this, I would go the industrial park, then 6th Street, and then State Street. That's the way I would see it.
I believe that's the order that came out at the commission meeting.
Yes. Okay, you guys ready? What's this next handout? What are we doing here?
The other one is your streets project. I kind of put together your budget out of, there are two budget sheets there. One is for your street and sales tax, and $738,000 that's set aside for that every year out of the half cent. And then also the second page, which is your special highways, which you have that is not spoken for, somewhere in the ballpark of $125,000. So you have about $850,000 a year to spend on streets. And one thing I was talking with Philip about in the streets, while we're also trying to get grant money, is to go ahead and take about half of that money every year, the $400,000, and start doing Cape Seal on the streets and get moving forward on several miles of streets every year to get our streets healed up in the community. So, and that's what I spoke about when you interviewed me, is one of the processes that's really effective anymore to heal up your streets is to use a Cape Seal procedure. You put down the MC 800 oil, and then you put chip rock in it, and then you fog coat over the top of it. And what that does is it brings your street base and your top back together, and it brings so you're actually covering a lot more street at a lot faster. Now that gives us time to also, on your last page, to work towards some of these bigger ones that you've laid out in the 5-year program that we've got here to get monies for that, grant monies. One of the things that the state of Kansas, KDOT, is doing is they're really pushing to get letters of support. So it takes a while to write a grant and to get all of that put together and get 5 or 6 or 7 letters of support, say from the golf course, the college, different entities, businesses uptown. And that's where we've, as I've checked into it, some of the grants have failed. Is the state is, KDOT always wants those letters of support, and the ones that have the better letters of support are the ones they push on through. So anyway, that gives us also time, if we can start moving forward and get a couple of different contractors to give us bids on several 100,000 square yards of Cape Seal. We can start running that and do a 5 or 7 year street rotation, but still affect all of our big heavy streetways that we want on our 911s and things like that, where we have a lot heavier traffic, and go ahead and keep those for mill and overlay, but on the other ones really start healing up bigger areas of the community.
Now the Cape Seal, I'm not familiar with that. That you're saying it's got the aggregate in it.
Well, you're familiar with the old chip seal?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so what it does, it turns your street back to black.
Right.
It's a chip seal, but it's a fog coat. The nice thing of it is with that fog coat, it actually helps it pack or melt better and without tracking. So, and it also turns your streets to black instead of people saying, "Oh, you just gravel our streets."
Right, right. Yeah, because that
Yeah.
was the only thing when you chip
Yeah.
seal a county road,
You don't
get
want that.
dust for 2
Yeah, you
weeks,
don't
and
want
then it
that.
packs in.
Yeah.
And that's what we, had a lot of people in fear that we were going to start chip sealing city streets.
No.
Now there was another thing. What's the other thing that we bought last year? What was that called? Invisible something. What was that seal that they used on Reclamite? Have you heard of Reclamite?
Reclamite's really good on a street that you've already milled and overlaid. And what that does is that feeds your base and your top. But if your streets are already alligatored open, just like over on East National, some of those cracks are you're going to have to feed that something else. Reclamite can only bridge, what would you say, Earl? About 3/16 of an inch,
Yeah,
maybe.
very small cracks.
Yeah,
It's
very
not made
small.
for
About an eighth.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So everything is about its application, and the streets. I mean, you guys know this as well as I do. I mean, I'm not telling you I'm preaching the choir here a little bit, but the cracks in the streets here, even though they've been chip sealed or crack sealed before, are so big you're not going to reclamite most of them.
Right, right. That's what I'm saying. We don't want to waste money just
No.
by painting it black.
Yeah.
This is actually going to have aggregate in it that's
And
going
it's
to
going
help.
to feed it. Well, what you're doing is you're bringing your top and your base back together with that rock that's being pounded into there.
So they'll come in with this. I mean, it'll be applied and it'll be rolled in, and they'll have machines on it.
Yep.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a place out of Wichita and then Circle C, and I think Heckert's does it too, don't they?
Heckert.
Yeah.
Do they?
So we'd probably look at both of them. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And we could get pitcher rock because they opened up the pitcher quarries again.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was some good dune
That's
bug
really
riding back in the day.
that's really clean rock.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah.
It's clean, but it'll kill you.
Well, you're not going to go out and lick the roadbed, but
Well,
they said that the lead level that they were screaming about is so finite anymore that it's really non-existent. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, I like that.
Yeah, we
I like
actually
that.
had them do a fifth of the town over there last year. And if anybody wants to go look at that, I can take you over to Fredonia on a test site and show you what that looks like.
That'd be interesting. Even
Yeah.
we could get some photographs also.
Okay.
Before and
Yeah.
after.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, does it matter that some of these places, like on East National, that the base is what's causing that alligatoring? Because that's asphalt that's been laid over the top of brick with no sub base underneath it.
Yeah, and what you're doing is you're feeding your asphalt. You know, and I realize that asphalt, the nice thing about asphalt is it moves far better than concrete. So the only way to keep anything on top of the brick, if it's raveling, that's another thing. But if it's still holding on to your brick, then you still got a street. So you just need to feed that crack.
What he's talking about is if you got a depression or if the base is failing, you have to dig that up and fix your base.
Right.
Yeah.
This stuff won't. This is a surface coat, just like a chip and seal.
Yeah.
It's just that it puts another fog coat on top of the chip seal so that you don't have rocks going.
Still going to have a
everywhere.
hole.
But if you got a hole or if you got what alligator cracking where it's sinking in, those have to be fixed.
Yeah, those need to be addressed first and then come in with this.
That is
And that's what we have to do. You have to go in and pothole it, and like he's saying, is fix the bad spots, and then go in there and put your cape seal down.
Okay. So you're suggesting 400,000.
I would suggest if we could do 400,000 a year for 5, 6, 7 years, we can knock this community down to where we're managing it just like we should have 20 years ago. And we can get on top of this again. But it's going to take a while to start, bringing it back.
Sure. So what's that leave us after if we did the 400,000?
Then you still got 450.
Okay.
To go with your other streets, and if you can get a match, you can start doing some of your other streets too. And that's when we'll have to work with economic development, some of them, and start getting our grants, get our KDOT grants.
I think one of the important streets is going to be, as Pete's brought up time and time again is Wall Street.
Yeah.
And the state is going to be able to help with that, we think.
Yeah, and that's what I was visiting earlier. Anytime we have either 69 highway or 54 highway, those are state highways. And don't put your money 100% into those. Make the state pay for state highways.
Yeah.
It's a joint, those are 90-10 or they'll be 80-20. But apply for the grants and don't fix them till they give us the grants. Make the state pay their portion of it and not the citizens pay for 54 highway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you say 90-10, 80-40, or 80-20, who's the 80 and who's the 20?
The state's the 80 or the 90 and the city's the 10 or the 20. Yep, depending on the project, depending on.
See, it's been just the opposite.
Right, it has been.
It's been
And you're not the
93-7.
first city that I've run into that's been doing that.
Yeah.
And so, same way, we apply for the C-CLIP, we apply for, whatever the state projects are coming out at the time. You apply for them. If you don't get them, you just keep applying, but don't spend your money. We got plenty of city streets to spend money on.
Sure, I agree.
So is there a section of Wall Street right now that's being laid out that's supposed to be repaired this year?
Not that I know of. No.
It's in your 5-year plan, or that's supposed to be done, and that's what Pete and I were talking about. We need to take that money off of that and use it elsewhere.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we need to be driving. I mean, that's my main goal is we need to be calling the state and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. That thing has been in bad shape since I've been a child. And if you're ever behind a vehicle, get behind mine because I can drive you down where it's smooth, but it looks like I've been drinking. So it's bad. It's really bad.
And that's Wall
Street.
Yeah, we need to get that into the state system by getting the application into the state for those.
Yeah, how soon can we get that?
There's two things that we need
Usually
to
do
work
in
on.
March.
March?
Usually they come around every March.
Is that the same thing we've done before on Horton Street?
Yes.
And so are we going to rebid Horton Street? I know last time, like you said, they said one reason we were denied on Horton again was letters of interest.
Yeah.
And they suggested we go back out in the spring. And so I just make sure that's still on the radar for Horton.
Yes.
Go back out for the same with letters of interest.
So,
but you can apply for more than one street.
Okay.
Right.
When you do those. Okay?
Yes.
Don't think that just because you applied for one that you can't apply for another street.
Right.
That's not true.
Well, I think that's what we emphasize is Horton is a city street.
Yes.
We don't mind taking a little bit of part in, but Wall Street is 54 highway. We're
Yes.
dealing with major truck traffic that's killing our street.
Right. And that's what Earls is talking about. That gives you a lot more push without so much letters of support, that it is a highway. It is a transporting route. It's one of your major
Thoroughfare, yeah.
Yeah, delivery ways. Yeah. So
when you do turn that in, I know you guys call it Wall Street, but the KDOT, you always want to put in as US
the
54.
highway number.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. And something down the road, way down the road, I suppose we can talk about too, is we've talked about overpasses. I don't know if that's a possibility on Wall Street, but I think it needs to be looked at as a possible overpass over the train on Wall Street. I mean, not very many towns you go to are you waiting on a train. Ours is.
That's something else to bring up with KDOT. KDOT has a railroad division as well. And if that's something that we want to put in their radar, now's the time to do it when the government's handing out money like.
I'd like to emphasize that also because that is a major stickler to anybody that travels that. I mean, we've had situations where trains are parked on I understand the railroad's going to do what they want to do, but there'll be a train there so long that there'll be traffic backed up clear to outside of town. And that becomes an emergency, problem. So I'd like to look into.
Well, as we're standing right now with the C-CLIP and the agreement, the city of Fort Scott is responsible for the 2 outside lanes, which are called parking lanes. And the C-CLIP right now would only be for the 2 inside lanes. What I would like to see, and it's something the commission needs to talk about, is taking Wall Street and eliminate the parking on both sides and make a center turn lane and make that total driving surface from curb to curb and get a application in for a rebuild of the whole entire system, including the center turn lane. And we need to take a look at Wall Street as a commercial district. There's hardly anything on Wall Street now. When I grew up, Wall Street was a prime, there were grocery stores, ice cream stores, tobacco stores. There were beer joints. There were, it was a major income producing. And if you go on down 54 Highway to Nevada, you go into Nevada and you'll see nothing but businesses on both sides. And here we've got 4,000 cars a day going through, and there's nothing to stop for, nothing. And so if we could promote that Wall Street into a business district, which it is, that's what it started, and get that highway in, I think we would improve our situation tremendously over on the east side.
Another side note on that. One suggestion that was brought to us, I had some people stop and we helped them fix a tire one day, and they said we had no idea. We traveled from El Dorado, Kansas to Nevada our whole lives, and we just hit 54, that mile section, and come over on 69 and right back out 54. They told us we could get some help out here on this end of town. We had no idea there was restaurants, there was anything out south of Fort Scott. We have no advertisement when it comes to telling people that you can find a McDonald's, anything down here. Like you pull into Lewisburg and you see McDonald's, Pete's, whatever. It'd be nice if we could apply with the state to have one of those state signs on both the west and the east entrance into Fort Scott to let people know there are businesses in a whole another community just a mile or two south.
Okay. Well, I would like to get a consensus of the commission whether this is something we want to approach, is to rebuild Wall Street from curb to curb and with the center turn, eliminate the bar.
I, for one, am for it. I mean, it sounds like we would get a possibility of having more funding if it's going to be all drive lanes rather than.
Is there off-street parking on all those?
Yes, yeah. I mean, pretty much everybody up and down Wall Street has off-street parking. There's not a lot of cars. The only thing you'll find, I mean, I'm a frequent Wall Street traveler. The pawn shop, and that's about it that I can think of down through there. 3D's got a few cars, but they've got off-road parking. The laundromat, they got a parking lot behind it. I can't think of anything that's parking on the street. And as a matter of fact, a lot of it is no parking already at the top of the hill. We had that done years ago for safety reasons. So there's a lot of no parking already. So I think, in my opinion, if that's what gets us, more help, why wouldn't it all be driving lanes and we don't have to take care of any of it? We put our money in another sidewalk down through there to keep people off the street rather than put the money on the street. And it does need rebuilt because I believe underneath that street it's also brick too. Am I right, Pete? Still got brick on a major highway, on a 54
I can
highway.
tell you from having to work in that, yes, there are some sections that are still brick. Yeah.
54 highway now. Well, we'll cover all that later.
So what do we need to do as a commission to get that? Do we need to direct somebody to design that? What do we need to do?
The city manager.
I was going to go ahead and reach out to Julie up there at KDOT and start talking to her and see what our best direction with or without the parking and turn it back into highway. What's going to draw the most attention because we feel like it's really a imperative street to get on top of. So I'll reach out to her this week or try to this week, if not first of next week. But since we just come off the first year, some of them are pretty slow getting back to their offices. So, but
right.
Anyway, yeah, we'll start getting those applications in and then keep following up. So.
I think.
Can't hear you, Pete.
Okay. The projects that we have on the books, Cooper Street. We're getting some poles moved, but not the right ones yet. But anyhow, I don't know what's happened there. Have you got an update on that? Or?
Jason called, and I don't think we had a chance to get back with him. So
they were there again today. I saw. What Evergy was there again today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're
They
working
may
on the other
be.
side of the
Yeah,
street.
they
They're not
may
working
be,
on the big ones. Yeah, I drove out by there and
Okay.
they are working on it, but
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
But once
I think some of that is, it's not Evergy that's replacing those big poles. I think they've contracted that out to another company.
Alltech and Capital Electric.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Capital Electric, that's who the locates that I've seen, are through, so there may be a delay with them, I don't know, but, I know they are keeping locates in and keeping them updated,
well, I don't know if
continuously, so.
has the right of way been marked?
I think it has.
The new right of way, I don't see any right of way stakes out there.
I'm not sure, but I thought I saw some new stakes out there recently.
Yeah, on the east side of it, there was some stakes planted out there, but I don't know if they've done anything on the other side of the road, on the where the substation and all that is. There was some, but I think they got broke off.
Yeah,
So those are the
I
old
think
ones,
most of them are
obviously.
gone.
But yeah, but I haven't seen
and
anybody
there's-
out there surveying.
Okay, well, that's something that I would like to see. We're 2 years in arrears on that now. I'd like to see that Cooper Street, and I talked to Peter about downgrading the specifications on that and put something in there that's more within our budget. And I think we can do that, but that's something that I'd like to see us, get a cooperative agreement with the county for them to come in and start moving dirt ASAP.
Yeah, and I don't know if they have the manpower right now for the county. I mean, I've talked to them a little bit, and right now they don't have the manpower.
Really?
Yeah, last I heard, a lot of them guys found other jobs, truck driving, stuff like that. They're hurting
Oh, really?
right now. Yeah.
So,
What about
so you don't
getting
think
the
that we can
AB3?
count on?
What's that?
What about getting the AB3 from the county? Is that still?
Yeah.
We can still get that, though.
Yeah.
Have anybody talked to them about the quantity that we'll need at all?
I mean, off the record, I have. I mean, just
Okay.
estimated. I think I asked Pete or Kevin, and I just reached out to him and said, "Oh yeah, that shouldn't be a problem." So,
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I mean,
Once
I think
the
if-
poles
I
are
think we hit a hard
moved.
number, Kelly, or whoever, get with Dustin or Eric.
Yeah, I think there's 50,000 tons or so on that job, and we say $4 a ton. That's $200,000.
Well, yeah. Their problem is, I know that last time I talked to them, they were crushing, but they were doing it for themselves, trying to get caught up on their own stuff, and they hadn't done anything for the city.
Well,
yet.
that's something
I didn't
we're
know.
gonna have
Now
to
that
get clarified.
right. Okay. But I think once the poles are moved, we can get more serious about trying to get that thing done. But we got to get KPR.
The biggest thing with AB3 is
Who-
they just need to know, and if we commit, we need to do it.
Right.
And so they just said, we can't just wait till the last minute. We just
Right.
Because
need to-
Alltech and Capital have moved on. They're out replacing poles in the county now. They're moving down towards Pittsburgh. They've been moving down 210th, and they're out on Deer and Eagle. So they're done with whatever they were doing here, and they've moved on. So whoever we need to get in contact with to find out why they didn't replace these poles and when they can get back to them, we need to make sure and get that taken care of. Because those particular companies, I see them out in the county right now, and they're moving. They've moved every day. They're moving closer to Pittsburgh, not coming back.
Yeah, you might reach out to Richie and just see if he has with Evergy and see if he has their contact information.
Phil, does Jason, you typically do that? Get the utility companies online and see where they're at?
Yeah, we'll get with them.
Okay.
We'll get Evergy and find out. We had a meeting out there with them. We kind of had it all laid out. And now we just need to find out what they've done. And
Yeah,
where
what
they're at.
happened to them?
Yep.
I
Yeah.
think they're right. I think Evergy's done their part, and now we're just waiting on. But I think you're right. I think they've already went through.
Oh yeah,
So
they did everything out here. They did everything at the industrial park.
I think there were some miscommunications. They said so. I don't know. Maybe we can get them come back.
It's time to jack them up. Time to jack them up a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do we now have a contractor that's going to do those first 2 blocks on Horton? We bid that out.
Horton, we're still waiting on the grant.
Yeah, we never bid.
No,
I don't.
we bid out two blocks,
It,
6th to 8th Street.
I don't think it was approved.
I'm sorry.
It was never approved.
Correct.
But-
It was
but
never
didn't we
approved.
bid it?
We bid it, but we didn't
We
approve
We
it.
rejected it.
We rejected it?
Yeah.
Correct.
From 6 to 8. Yeah. The 6 to 8, the water lines, everything's been done, so, but it's after 8th Street that needs.
Yeah,
underground
from
work.
6th to 8th, the water line is good. It's from 8th Street going south, that we would have to take a look at some of the water lines in that area. I think from 8th to 10th, and then 10th up to Lake, and depending on how far we're going.
I think before you said you're trying to connect that one line that comes down 10th Street, then a dead end right there, and you're gonna connect it
Um,
from just south of Medical Lodge, I think.
no, they're all tied in, but there's a section of line there in Horton, just south of Medical Lodge, that it's 8-inch and it's bad shape. We had a pretty bad blowout on it a few years back. So that little section right through there, that much of it should at least be replaced. I have to take a look at some of the records on the rest of it.
So other than the grants, Kelly, are there any more municipal bonds, 50/50s, 60/40s, that we can apply for to get some of this other stuff done?
Well, we will, through CDB. It depends on which one you're talking about. We can get, for water, we can get CDBG, we can get KDHE grants, debt forgiveness. Same way with sewer, the municipal building. We can get grants from CDBG on that also. KDOT is going to be your streets. So, we're just going to have to start really throwing a lot of grants out there. My thing is you start throwing everything out there that you can. Like I said, do your cape sealing, and then start moving forward with what moves forward. And of course you're going to have lead times on stuff. But typically what we do is we'll start moving forward in everything we can and see what pans out, and then you follow that, and you'll find out you're going to be plenty busy staying up with what and then if you have one you have to reapply to, then you reapply, but you keep moving forward and you keep enough stuff churning and moving and churning and moving, and it's a process. So
Well, if we're looking at only $800,000 total in our street improvement budget, that won't even build Cooper Street.
well, I understand that, but the thing of it is we have to, if we can get some of these other streets that are going to be 80, 90, then we also can start building money up too. So, we can't just, diminish the fact that, we're going to get some of those grants too. And then a lot of our CDBG grants, when Southeast Kansas Regional Planning Commission writes them for me, we get 100% of those. So when we start doing that, then we start moving on those projects too.
And those are awesome, and we want to keep doing all that. But I know that like municipal bonds and stuff right now are the lowest they've been in the last 20, 30 years from my understanding. And whatever we can do right now, while we can do it at this rate, I feel like it would be a benefit to the city to get some of these other roads repaired. Because I know
the
things like we have the emulsification that we're using to patch the potholes,
Yeah.
and we have no storage tank.
Yeah.
So right now, if the guys want to patch holes, my understanding is they have to drive up to Kansas City, fill the machine, and then
Yeah.
come back instead of having it on site to be able to go out and get done what needs to be done.
We'll have to look into that.
Okay.
The other thing that you want to be careful now, this year in 22 and 23, you're rolling bonds out, and you don't want to rebond just yet. Okay, so we don't have any extra money to bond without. We don't have extra debt service money.
Well, we can sit down. I think
Yeah.
we do.
You do?
I think so. I mean, we talked about it last year. We have a few things that came on that weren't last year. Sewer or stormwater, we've had a $10 infrastructure fee
Yeah.
that will be on there. And so
Cool.
when the previous finance director was here, her and I sat down and figured in about 60% of the new income coming in could go towards a bond payment.
Well, I agree, but we'll talk about it and look at it, Josh. We want to also make sure we cover our cost of living for our staff and everything. So,
Yeah, I felt like we left in enough.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
okay,
Well, the problem with bonds is you have to pay it all back.
correct.
Where on grants, you get a matching fund or you got.
Oh, yeah. I don't
Right.
think anyone disagrees.
Oh,
that
yes,
grants are the way to
definitely.
go.
Yeah, that's
But-
why I want to go with as much free money as we can.
I mean, I don't think we're getting $100 million in grants next year.
No, no,
And
I
so-
don't think you'll ever
and
get
honestly,
100
we
million.
look at cost of business has went
Yeah.
up compared to interest rates. I mean, the cost of doing business in 5 years probably gonna be more expensive than the interest rate on a bond in 5 years.
Sure, and I agree. But the other thing, like you're saying, is we just want to make sure we have the money for debt service. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think every project should include an application for a grant. Every project.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I absolutely agree. You should always shoot for the moon.
So on Cooper Street, I know what is the plan on Cooper Street right now? I mean, you said you think it's going to cost $800,000. I think one of you put a sheet on my desk. Was that you?
I was just running down through there, throwing some driving lanes down
Yeah.
and giving them a road to drive on.
Yeah. Which
Not special, no curb.
What is it? He went. Oh, here.
Those numbers was just for driving lanes. There's no curb, nothing. This is just water running straight off the road into a ditch. And
which is
few
the way it's
culverts.
been for a long time.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what those numbers were.
It's from me. I figured everything up. There's just material cost and some culverts, stuff like that. But it would take, if we was to go down through there and do it in concrete, it'd probably take 3.5 months
That's what I think.
just to do from 23rd to 20th. I mean, for us to lay 8 inches of concrete in there. So.
Well, we're not going to put asphalt on the top of what's there. We're going to rebuild that base. We're looking whatever we do.
I think your numbers had 12 inches of.
Yes, I did have
AV3
AV3 in there, and if we have to go pretty deep, then I got clay. We do have a place to get our own clay now, so yeah, we have all that. So I figured all that in there.
Yeah. I think it was right. Was around 350. Does that seem right? I can't remember.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't.
So are we? And is that with the county coming in and laying it down for us, or is that?
No, the county can't. I talked to Eric, and he don't even know if he's going to be able to make enough asphalt for him next year.
Yeah, Pete can't hear anything, but he heard that. Okay. So, but I mean, Cooper's got to be fixed.
Yeah.
We have to do something with that street.
As long as it's done by May.
What's May?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So what do you suggest, Pete, with Cooper? You do suggest we start working on that? The Public Works? What are you thinking?
Well, no, I don't. I think Kelly is right on with using the money that we have to work on maintenance on our streets that we can save. We have several of those, and only having $800,000 to work with that doesn't give us any money to build anything.
Yeah, we'll not yet, but when Josh and I get together, we'll start finding that, and then also what we can do, Skitch and Pete, we can start giving you guys an idea of what kind of money is going to start coming out with the bonds and what we're looking at as far as today, next year, and the year after. I mean, but this year there may be more than this 800,000, but we need to kind of search a lot of what.
Well, I think we all can agree Cooper needs done.
Yeah, and if we keep moving after it, we got to get the poles moved, and then we can start moving at a mindfulness of doing it. It may be a process street. I don't know.
Well, we have a contractor that did that job. that lives right there. Marbury bid that job.
Right.
And he was the low bidder. You know, of course, we have to have money to pay him,
Sure.
which right now we don't have. And you know, this is,
You know, the other thing that Tim was talking about is we could, I mean, to get by, get the base down and double Cape seal it and get by for a couple of years and then, you know, do something a little more final.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Cape seal. We talked about chip seal.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you can put a chip coat down and then Cape seal over the top of that again, which would be a double chip coat.
Right.
And then Cape seal it. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that, Pete?
yeah,
Well, not that we're just trying to please you, but
yeah, we don't have to have it all perfect this year. I mean,
yeah.
we get
But,
it.
but that would get us by.
I've always had the idea that we would do it in stages, get the base
Yeah.
down and run on the rock.
so my question with that though is, remember we have some elevation issues.
Yeah.
That we would want to address before we
Well,
chip seal.
in order to put 12 inches of AB3 down on that section, on the north section, we have to take 12 inches off. So we're already to grade. So we have to excavate 12 inches there, and that 12 inches could be moved to 20th
To the
23rd
south.
Street and raise that. So that's that, you know, that there we get our own fill, and we raise that up, and like
Jerry.
Jerry said, no curves, we just run it off into ditches. We cut ditches, but that's what we can. You know, that's the type of thing we can afford. We can't afford, you know, $1 million, $2 million job there.
Mr. Earls, did you have something?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I would just basically agree that we talked about that before, going just like Jerry said, go with AB3 and putting on a temporary surface for now.
So
let's just get the road open.
Yeah.
So I think what Pete's suggesting is coming from using the material coming from East National, and you excavate that down 12 inches, you know, approximately, and you take that material as you're bringing it down. Would you use the excavator, go in there and load the trucks up, haul it down, and then load the trucks up, haul it down, put it where we're going to bring the elevation up down by the concrete plant, because it has a heck of a time shedding water down there. That was always a swamp. So we use that material that we take off down there, bring it down to about 20th Street, and start bringing our elevation up, compacting it in as it comes out.
And keep in mind, on top of that, you're going to put another 12 inches of AB3. So we move 12 inches down, we're going to raise 12 inches, and then another 12 inches of AB3. So we're going to raise it 24 inches.
Right.
That will give us a base to work off of.
What's the concrete company going to do with that mountain of recycle?
You know, they've been. I mean, it's there if we want it. If
I
that's
didn't know
what
if
you're
it'd
saying.
behoove us to bring in a portable crusher and put it down as base, and then AB3 over the top of that, or.
Well, I think we're going to have sufficient fill if
Do you?
we
Yeah, coming from East National.
the north section. I mean,
Okay.
it's just going to be perfect.
Okay.
You know, it's almost equal distance.
And well, I was just thinking, if you're going down 12 inches to base it, you could put that crush reclaim on the bottom and then put AB3 on top, or what you're going to reclaim off of what you're bringing. You may not even have to put AB3 on it.
Right.
Well, if we can get our AB3 from the county, see, we're paying
If
that price.
yeah, if
Right.
that's the problem. See, we're everything we return, it's us that has to fix, because nobody's going to be much help right now.
Right. I mean, we got plenty of AB3 at the rock quarries, and it's about $3.50 a ton higher than what we would pay at the county level,
Okay.
which is doable. But I'm like you. You know, we may not have to have. I mean, why? I guess I understand why you say we have to have a foot all the way through. If we take it down and we come up and we catch our grade halfway down there and it's compacted properly and it's out of good material, why couldn't we get away with 4 inches in that area?
Well, because we're going to build it for concrete trucks.
Yeah, you got to load.
The thicker the base, the
Have load heavy.
more stability you have. And I think that Peter will
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
That's kind of the standard
Right.
cross section is 12 inches of
Yeah.
AB3 base rock.
Okay.
Can we
reach out to the can we reach out to the concrete company and ask them about using that?
Oh,
Because
that's,
that sounds, I mean, it's already there.
that's doable.
Crush it
Yeah.
up, dump it in. I mean, it's.
I know.
They still gonna move back there?
You know, that's another conversation we need to have with them, and they said they would. O'Brien's has got their those blockades they build. They got them on the right of way, so they're going to have to take that back. And that's when Jarrett and them started the process. They were going to redo the ditch and everything because they've got some runoff that the the slurry's getting into the ditches and running out through there. So they're willing to work with us on that. So, but we do need to reach out with them. I've got the contact numbers that
Cool.
you can get with them, and
Okay.
and that material would be. I'm sure they'd be more than willing to.
Yeah.
You know, they've been chopping away at that mountain now for about 5 years. That was left behind, so they'd love to get rid of that material.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd probably go out there with a hammer on the back of a hoe and break a lot of that up and then just press it down on that roadbed.
And you're talking about a portable crusher, like they brought something like that in over there at the Dollar Tree job, and that's pretty cool. They took that whole parking lot and put it in the machine, and it spit the rebar out one side and the rock out the other. It was the cutest little thing you ever seen. Those are rentable?
Yeah.
What's it approximately? What you don't know?
I don't know, Skitch.
Right.
I thought maybe you might have connections.
Well, I do have a connection for one of those, oddly enough, and that's the Dollar Tree people. If that machine wasn't busy, we could bring that in.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
I mean, these are just some thoughts, thinking outside the box.
no, I like it. But that's going to be clean rock. You know,
Yes.
that's not going to be.
I know there's no wire in it, which is nice, which will crush faster.
But there's, like, it's gonna be clean rock. There's
Yeah.
not gonna be fines.
Yeah, and then you won't have to worry about them surfacing to the top either. Sometimes you get nails and stuff that the magnets don't get.
I mean, the problem is it's not going to compact, right?
Correct. I mean, it's got to have
Yeah, but-
fines in it.
yeah,
or
you
it
gotta have the
won't
AB3.
serve you any-
Right.
If we're looking at putting 12 inches of AB3 down, if we get it from the county, it's about $25,000 to put it from East National to 23rd Street, 6 blocks.
So 45,000 if we bought it from the company.
Sorry.
45,000 or approximately 50,000 if we had to buy it from the quarry.
Yeah, another, that's half of what.
Sure.
Not 50,000 if we have to buy it from the crusher. So that's that's a substantial savings if we can get it from it. But if we can't, we can't. But we can't not do the project
Right.
for $25,000. We need to get it done.
Yes, I agree. So what do you, I mean, so starting right now, what do we do to start getting that done? Do we turn?
We get the poles moved.
We got to get the poles moved, but there's still areas we could work on it right now, right?
We can talk with O'Brien's. We can find out on that. Find out how our availability on the AB3 and start finding out all of our availability and do our field work and then get ready when the poles are out. We can start cutting that roadbed and be
Right.
ready to rock and
What if
roll.
you come in and they say, hey, we're 4 months out on the poles now? I mean, what is our worst case if they do something
Turn a
like
city
that?
truck loose and hit one. Then they'll come
Those are
fix it.
Big power ones.
Tom's got one picked
I
out
mean, but
already.
really, I mean, are we at the mercy of that? I mean, what if they?
I just can't imagine how the wires got confused on which
I mean, how
poles
long
were
have we
being.
been waiting for the pole to move?
Huh?
We've been waiting,
Oh, 6 months at least. Yeah.
and so I'm just saying, what if they say, hey, it's going to be 6 months?
Well, then there's nothing we can do.
I know.
I mean, can we not build the road back the way it was?
We leave it like it is.
Can we not? Do we have to widen it? Can we build it back the way it was?
That's an option.
I understand run 26 feet wide with the poles sitting where they're at. That'd be 13 feet driveway.
Here's the question: have we already traded the properties? Do we even own that property now?
Everything except the
Storage.
storage unit on the south.
We can always trade back and keep the road where it's at.
I don't remember how much we traded on the
15 feet, I think.
So where would the road start now? Is the road now in the part we traded? Is our road on private land now?
No.
No, our road is where it was.
Still where it
So
was.
why can't we just keep it the way it is then?
That's what I'm saying. We'd have to scratch our trade, our land trade.
Why?
Didn't we already trade?
Yeah.
I think we got that dried up to where they own that now.
Yeah.
And we got 15 feet to the east.
So you're telling me they own where our road is now?
That through the trade. That's the way I understand it.
I thought it was just up to the road.
That'd be a
Right away.
Bob Farmer question, I think.
I didn't think it was the road. I thought it was up to.
Okay, I don't know, but that's what I assumed the whole time was we were trading 15 for 15. So I think they would own the road at this point in time. I don't think anybody down there would be upset if we left it where it is. I think it's not the vision we had when we first started about doing it right, but it is not the end of the world if we left it where it's at. Pete, what say you? I know you're really in favor of that.
Well, we've already moved the poles on the west side. They've been moved into the new right of way.
Right?
And there's several through there.
You mean the east side or the
and
west
with
side?
where the poles are right now, it's pretty narrow between the existing poles that need to be moved and the poles they've already moved. They've already moved those poles 15 feet to the east. So we've got 15 feet less right away now than we had before. I'm not saying we can't go in there and move some dirt and build that up and shift a little farther, temporarily. But here again, you're throwing good money after bad, I guess, or it's the whole question is when can we get the poles moved? So we'll find that out this week. Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, it says right on the drawing the poles are being moved. So somebody should have caught that.
Yeah, they had the drawing, so
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
That's
I have
what I'm
no
saying.
idea.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that'll
We'll
express
get
it.
with Evergy and find out what's going on and what they've done and what
You
they
know,
plan to do.
We could tell we did our due diligence in waiting, but now that there's been a misfire here, could you please hurry up and get back and do it right? Figure out what should have been done. Okay.
Okay. Well, let's find out where we are and then go from there.
Okay. So, what else do we need to discuss there?
City of Fort Scott has a comprehensive plan that I don't know if anybody's aware of. It was made 3 years ago, 2018. That comprehensive plan is the plan that we should be using. I mean, that's our, that was adopted by the city, produced by engineering company, and it's very clear and concise as to how we should go about planning. One of the things that was mentioned, I mean, it's a plan for every phase, water lines, sewer lines, streets, economic development, housing, downtown, historic district, everything. It's all right there in the comprehensive plan. I've been studying the comprehensive plan, which we should have been using all the time, and it was made and then just laid aside. One of the things that it asked, one of the things that it says to do is to make a street inventory. And I have taken upon myself to make a street inventory. And I've done it. I've got the inventory pretty well done. I've got it in ward form. There's 7 wards in the city of Fort Scott, so it's very. I know you like to work projects, but I've also gotten a street designation map from KDOT. Our streets are classified on a KDOT map. And I think a part of our funding is governed by what those streets are designated. And there's 3 classifications, actually 4. There's state highway classification, which is 54 and 69. And then there's arterials, which is like National and Broadway, 6th Street. And then there's collectors, and then there's residential. And I have gone through and taken and made those designations. I haven't gotten them totally finished yet, but it comes out like this. And there's street designations, and as everybody knows, the priorities are where the traffic is. So if we're looking at priorities, if we're looking at doing maintenance work, anything that we do should be governed by the priority, by the classification. And the state highways are the number one classification. So that includes Wall Street. So if we adopt this comprehensive plan, which we've already done, the comprehensive plan says that we will classify the streets and we will work accordingly per the classification. So which means that we put our priorities where the traffic is and where the problems are. Right now, I see the big problem is Wall Street. And so I assume we're going to get that handled. Wall Street and again, that's the C-CLIP program. And then we move on down to the arterials, and that's like National Street. And I've got a map here of number one ward, and it's I'll pass that around. You can look at it, but the colors of the our designation. The green is arterials, and the blue is collectors. So if we want to go to work, and we all know what we're looking for. We all know that, okay, this is arterials are our priority. So if we're looking at sewers and water lines, whatever it is that's in the way, then everybody knows, well, this year we're going to do these arterials. Next year we're going to work on the collectors. Let's just say that. And we're going to do that all over town, but we're going to do it by wards. We're going to move in and we're going to do this ward, then we move over and do this ward, do that ward. And there's the booklet on Ward 1. This is the booklet on Ward 2. And there will be a booklet for every ward. So that's one of the things that we can do to put everybody on the same page. We all know where we're headed, what we're looking for. We go right down the list, and these are in order. We can put them in order, whatever order we want. But what we're saying is we've got 700 blocks of residential streets that don't even register yet. They're so far down on the list that we're never going to, are we ever going to get there? Because we've got 300 blocks of collectors. We've got 200 blocks of arterials. And so, those are the things that we have to work on first. So that's what we have to decide, where are we headed? And so the first step is to get the streets so that we can drive on them, so that we have that PCI of 5 in the middle, just so that we can drive on them. We're not fixing the base. We're not rebuilding anything. All we're doing is going in and leveling it out so we can, and we do that with patch and repairs. We do that with seal coat. We do that with crack filling, all those items. But when we can get this, all 7 of our wards done, and I'm close to having that done. I just brought these 2 as an example. But that's one of the things I've been working on, and it's something that with your, I'm fully, you're the man in charge. I'm giving you this information.
Appreciate that, Pete, because we really need that. And the thing we can do also is any awards that there's, and go at the worst ones, and we can rate them that way. So that way everybody sees what we're doing, where we're doing.
Yeah, everybody knows where we're headed.
Yeah, that's good.
We're all working on the same page. Where in the past, those guys are working out there and they're doing their thing, and these guys are doing their things, and we're bouncing around all over town. Right. And with this type of thing, we know every day what we're going to do.
Hey, Pete, I see 3 streets here that are throwing me for a loop. Euclid, I've heard that. Where's Euclid Street at?
Walnut Hill.
Walnut Hill? You didn't know that?
Yeah,
George Street, is that on Walnut Hill also?
yeah, I think that's on the hill.
In Hendricks?
Hendricks, I believe, is
I don't know where
out
that
on the
one's at.
east side there somewhere. It's on the map. Look at the map. The map's on the first.
Don't tell me what to do.
You know, it's
The map.
Is this a quiz?
Oh, that's a map.
these are maps.
Are we going to get judged by this later?
But
Pete.
I've got the whole thing laid out
Oh, cool.
on a full map. That's the wrong one.
Nope, that's the overall.
That's the this is how it works right there. Now the green is and we've got some streets we need to define. Cooper Street right now is not even on that map.
Yeah.
And 20th Street is defined as a residential street. Well, all we've got is Sketches, and we've got the jail, and we've got the ready-mix plant. That doesn't make sense. So we've got to do some adjustments on those to bring that up to date. And I don't know how to do that. That's something you have to do with KDOT, I guess. Okay. And I think that KDOT, do they use designations as far as funding?
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot more before when they had SDP projects and stuff like that. But still, when the state sends you the map that you were looking at, you mark it up and send it back to them and say, these are the ones that we've reclassified, and then they'll reclassify them in theirs.
Okay.
Other than state highways, obviously.
Okay. And I think with this, we can put load limits on our streets, so that we don't have to put 12 inches of rock down. We put 6 inches and then put a load limit on the street, depending on our, how thick our asphalt is and how thick our base rock is.
Right.
So,
I mean, there's a lot of places that have
No truck routes,
and non-truck routes. You just don't allow trucks on certain roads.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
That's getting more and more popular to keep them on the expressways and your heavy roadways.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's why you build your
what that
arterial.
means, one of the main routes through Fort Scott from the east side to the west side is to come down Wall Street to Broadway,
Yeah.
come down Broadway to 6th, go 6th to Horton, and then back out.
Right.
Well, those are all old brick streets with no base on them. So that's a major rebuild there to get those done.
Right.
But those are the type of things that we need to put in apply for a grant for this project. We do Broadway Street this year, for instance. That'd be 6 blocks.
Right. But like you said, those are routes that the state needs to understand that those when they're basically bypassing the state highways to get around or get through town, those are designated separately for the state so that those can be funded by the state, because they're actually routes that people use to get through town to basically bypass the state highways.
Yeah. Well, that's what they do. I mean,
Exactly right.
and
But then that's where we need to have the state. So they designations are correct, and so that we can get funded by them. Yes.
So anyhow, I think everybody should get a copy of the comprehensive plan, and there it is. I mean, that's
I mean, they spent a lot of time on that. I just came on the planning commission when they were finishing that up in 19.
yeah. You were on there.
And I mean, I think it was $25,000-$30,000 they spent on that.
Yeah.
And so, and it took probably 9 months of meetings to go through each chapter one by one and pick and choose. And so they really took their time. And yeah, so I mean, it really is a good plan.
It's a total comprehensive plan, and that's what we should base what we're doing here on, is that comprehensive plan, and it's step by step.
Okay. What next do we need to cover, gentlemen?
I think that's everything. The big thing I'll bring in an RFP, request for proposals, and we'll look at that and then send it out to. Well, in the meantime, we'll probably get with the street guys and we'll try to figure out which streets we want to look at to start going after and coating this year. So we'll have to,
Are you familiar with the pothole patcher?
yeah.
Have you used that machine before?
No, but I've seen it in use, yeah.
You know what
Mhm.
it'll do.
Yeah.
I put a lot of faith in that pothole patcher.
Well, and it'll be super for prepping the streets for the Cape Seal.
Exactly.
Sure.
That needs to be done first.
Yeah.
But we got also a lot of dig out and patch.
Yeah.
You know, those soft spots in the
Yeah.
ground. You're not going to, just put a patch over it and
Yeah.
fix it. They got to be dug out and fixed. So you've got a lot of that. But here again, that's something that we have to go out and look at.
When you talk about digging out and patching some of those spots, Pete, and also you, Kelly, how would you do that? Do you just throw the asphalt in it and pack it in, or do you suggest square cutting it with a concrete saw, giving it something to hold to, and then pack it in?
Now, do we have a zipper, or is that the county has a zipper?
Say the only zipper we had was at the fair. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't even know what's a zipper.
Well,
Milling
it's
machine.
it goes in there and mills. It's like a mill that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we don't have that. But what we've always in my world, in order to fix a pothole, you have to square cut it. Make sure the base is good. Take all the insboard or whatever material out and put good base in there. Pack it in, then put your remaining top surface, and then cover over it. Is that something you would see us doing, or?
No, what I would do is I would also contract that out. That's one of the things we always did was go in there and mill that, and have an asphalt company come in, mill it, and dig those out, and then go ahead and lay 4 inches in there. And
I'm talking about before we do the what's it called again? The Cape Seal.
Yeah, if I'm talking about if you have now potholes are different
That's what I'm talking
than
about,
a drift or a swag that's where you need to go in there and mill it,
Right.
because that's never going to get better.
I'm talking about let's say a street's a block long and it's got 3 bad spots in it. Do you suggest going in there and cutting those, square cutting?
Well, it depends on if it's a pothole or if it's if it
These are
is
potholes.
where it's gone through the base, you're going to have to go in there and cut those out. And typically we'd go in and have just an asphalt company go in and do, I don't know, 80 up to 80 ton of asphalt in those spots. It's a lot faster for them to go in there and go up and down your streets, which you can't do with just potholing, and then get it ready so the guys can get the rest of it ready for the Cape Seal, and then just go over all of it.
Right.
Yeah. But that's one thing I would contract, especially the depth.
Another thing I wanted to mention, and they've got a good idea, Matthew and Pete hit again tonight on a storage tank. I know how hard it is to get any kind of volume done what's our tank hold, Jerry?
250 gallons.
250 gallon.
That's about a day's work.
On a slow day. We could probably do 2 of those tanks if we had the material here. One?
Well, a 6,000 gallon tank, 6,000 or 7,000 gallon tank.
Yeah.
Well, we can fill it twice a year, and
right.
But I mean that's in the plan that I was putting forth, we were going to do 100 blocks a year. 100 blocks a year would require about 2 tankfuls of material.
Okay.
But this emulsion is very sensitive, and you got to handle it right. And this upright tank, that the same company that makes the pothole patcher, they make the tank.
Okay.
And we've got quotes on a tank. Now's the time to be putting the tank in. The tank needs
what were the
to
quotes,
be here so that it's ready to go when we're ready to go in April or May.
That's
or whenever,
what we need to do.
whenever we start the project. But I'm putting a lot of faith in that pothole patcher in being able to do a lot of this prep work to get ready, and we can fog seal then after we get those done. But we've got a whole lot of patching to do when we kick off the season.
Yeah.
And right now we can work a day, and then it takes a day to go get our material, and then we can, if we get the tank, then
Hey,
We-
Pete, real quick, do you recall the prices on the tank?
I think around 75,000,
And that
Yeah.
was 6,000 gallon?
6 or 7,000, I'm not sure.
Do they have different sizes?
Yeah, they have different sizes.
So
6 to 8,000 gallons, I think.
okay, but I'm saying, what if we wanted to buy a 2,000 gallon tank? I mean, do they go on down
I
to
don't think so.
really 6,000 is their minimum?
I think it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for 2,000 gallon tank. You know,
Well, what's a tanker bring in?
6,000.
The truck.
Yeah. You see, you want the tank to match the truck.
Sure, I
The,
understand.
the tanker is going to charge you for a full load. If he brings 2,000 gallons, you're paying for a full load. So you match the tank with. the
Sure, I
tanker.
understand the storage unit. Is this a heated tank?
It's a heated tank. Yes.
Does it have batters in it? Does it have batters that turn or anything like
Yes.
that?
Yes. It rotates and it pumps.
So my question for Kelly is, what do you see our crews doing in-house? What do you see bidding out or doing in-house?
Well,
We'll have to at least do the crack seal, which we won't do that. We'll pothole. Typically, what you do is, I'll give you a little more background to answer your question, Josh. In your street work, you chip seal or cape seal, you pothole, and then you coat it, and then you go back a year or two later and crack seal. Okay. So now, when you crack seal, a lot of times overcoats don't like to stick to it, because so you start getting a little raveling, and so there's those polymers a lot of times won't allow your cape seal to stick to it so much sometimes on some of that. So what they'll do is we'll contract out any of the drifts or the what you call the dropouts, where it literally drops the bottom out. And we'll contract those, and we'll go out there with paint and mark them, and have the guys go out and mark them, and then we'll send a contractor out there to lay those, and then we'll come back. The guys will be in that time; they'll be potholing, and then we bring in the Cape Seal crew, and they just go in there and broom it and take off. So, and that's on a yearly basis, but what that does then is that also then minimizes all of the crack sealing. I mean, you can go out there like the little checkerboard squares and crack seal every cotton pick and crookie crumble, and you're not really gaining a whole lot. So, and so it's in that shape, it's best just to go in there and pothole it and cape seal the whole thing and get it to go back with a new coating, and then start crack sealing, and then start your process over. See? Does that make sense? Yeah. So we don't want to run our guys to death, but we want to be smart. Now, the other thing, too, I can take you to a community over there in Humboldt. The guy actually ran his whole town off of the potholer for years. And they didn't crack seal, chip seal, or anything. They just would pothole, and they're getting by.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
That's Cole Herder over there in Humboldt.
Yeah, that's where we are here.
Yeah.
We need to get by.
I know it, but we need to get further than just getting by. So my point is the potholer will work, especially in advance to what you're doing, with your cape seal and stuff. So, and it's the best thing you can do, and that's one of the things we found in Valley Center. Trash trucks are the worst.
Yes.
And they just knock the bottom out. And wherever they knock the bottom out, you got to cut that out.
Yeah.
And so we would go in there
I've been telling Josh this for years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Josh is pretty much the reason the streets are shaped are today.
Yeah, Josh is the reason why our streets are like
Oh,
they
okay.
are.
Sorry about that, the bugaboo.
Usually Pete says it. So.
As long as he's leaving the dump trucks alone, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So anyhow, right now is our planning stage. Right
Yeah.
now is when we can go out and we can visualize these streets. You guys can, go out and you can look at it. You can mark.
You bet.
This needs to be done this
Right.
way and that way, and you need guidelines.
Right.
To do what we're talking about, do it, and that all comes about through the comprehensive plan. And it's there's certain things you do, certain things you don't do.
Right.
And, but if we all do it together,
Mm-hmm.
then we all know what we're doing.
That's good. Yeah.
And I'm willing to spend my time and help.
We appreciate that.
And, so
We'll definitely need the help
I know it.
because we got to figure out widths and everything, and that way we can get our square yardage. So, yeah, we got to get cracking.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so I think if we hit the ground running tomorrow, you guys probably, a couple weeks and have everything we talked about tonight finished? Tom?
Sure.
Did you have any questions, Tom, that you wanted to ask or of us, like direction or?
Well,
I mean, Kelly will obviously.
Yeah, I think we just need to talk to Kelly about it, because ultimately you're gonna be the one directs us where we need to go anyway, so.
We'll get together and walk a lot of that through. We'll work it out.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, and I
Bill?
will say Jerry. I'm gonna say Jerry and Tom. So Tom and Jerry. I will say Jerry and Tom. I think we said this last night at the meeting, but really, I think over the last month or so, you see some good groundwork being laid. So I think you guys are doing a good job. Bill too. Really. So.
Yeah. Bill, did you have anything?
Just same thing that Tom said. I need to get with you, Kelly, so that we can talk about water lines. I know that when we're looking at streets, we also want to look at water lines at the same time.
Yep.
To see what may or may not need to be done. But we also have, I think we talked about a little bit earlier, lots of 2-inch water lines. There's a lot of things I think in water distribution that we could do that will help us financially if we can just get to replacing even some of the smaller water lines and getting them either replaced or upgraded, one of the two.
Okay.
But
Yeah, Bill's a plethora of information. I mean, he's been here for how long? You been here, Bill?
too long.
Right. That's what I thought it was.
I'm going into my 20th year now.
Cool. Well, thank you for your service.
Are you training anybody?
That's something else that I need to work with both Brad and Kelly on. Is I'm trying to put together an in-house training program to train a replacement. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Brad, did you have anything? You good? Kelly?
No, I think I've said everything. We'll just be working together and keep bringing that before you guys. And at any point in time, if any of you commissioners want to come out on site we'll walk you through what we're thinking and what we're looking at, so we can kind of show you, because you guys are the representatives of the elected officials. So.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. Tim, did you have anything?
No,
Tim?
nothing.
Mark? Hello?
The commissioners selected the correct applicant to be the new city manager. That's all evident of what you've discussed here tonight and his knowledge.
Thank you for that. Josh?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, President. Did you have anything, Mr. Earls?
No, not on this. I think you're going down the right track. I will get with Kelly. We're doing the stuff on the wastewater treatment plant. We went with Michael, met with Mike, and revised the item that I'll get a booklet to everybody, and then I'd like to have a work session just on that to discuss the wastewater plant.
Very cool. Matthew, did you have anything?
My only thing's going to be with the two water projects that we're seeing as primaries right now, the 6th Street and then out at the industrial park. What do we need to do to get those going as quick as possible?
I mean, I think that's what we discussed tonight. I think the first thing we need to do is check the funding and get going. Pete, I think I missed you.
Well, I was only.
You're behind Matthew.
We have another work session coming up next week, or when?
Next week.
This coming Thursday?
Next Thursday.
Okay.
13, next Thursday.
Okay, and we're talking about brick streets.
Brick Street.
Okay. I've got a plan for that too. Well,
Oh, that's surprising.
Yeah. Okay.
So everybody bring a brick. Okay, and last but not least, Jerry, we've been waiting. What's on your mind? Talk to us.
I don't really have nothing to cover right now. I just need to get with Kelly and discuss things and move forward.
Well, I appreciate everybody meeting tonight. I think that was good stuff. Appreciate what you brought, Brad. That was great. And we'll reconvene next Thursday at what time? 5:00. It's my you bet. That's my New Year's Eve